Hey guys, MostlyNerdy here. Gonna do some high wall Lothric tips and a walkthrough for people who are struggling with it. I'm not that great at the game, so this is a good way for people who are not super great to get past it. Just showing you some stairs there. We're gonna double back to this area so we don't have to worry about it right now. And then you can go down this way where the stairs are on the left. You can actually go into another area and there's some items there and some enemies if you want souls. But we can skip that for now. Just make sure you take care of this guy or he's going to attract a couple enemies. And then there's two more enemies in here that you can actually avoid entirely. You can just go down the ladder, you can drop down. If you drop down, make sure you land on the platform or else you're going to take some damage. So just come through this way and you'll run into a dragon. There's a fork here, so you can either go up these stairs, which will lead you to a door, and there's a decent amount of loot up there. There's some weapons and I think ember and stuff like that, but it's tricky because once the dragon's there, he's breathing fire and it hurts you constantly, so you have to make sure that you can stay alive while you're up there. If you come down this way, you don't have to worry about that, because the fire doesn't hurt you as long as he's not breathing it while you're in the path. He does hurt the enemies and you actually get souls for it, so there is a benefit to the dragon. There is a knight right here and you can avoid fighting him, but I at this point my character is pretty high level, so I just take him out because it's not a big deal anymore. But you can take out these guys, and if you come here where this guy is and take him out, you can actually hide in the corner here and he will walk right past you. The knight will walk right past you and you don't have to fight him. So down here is a mimic. Where all those messages are, there's a chest, and it's actually an enemy. If you can beat the enemy, he drops a good weapon. So if you feel like you can take him out, then go for it, because the weapon is worth it, but it is a hard fight. So come through here and come up these stairs. There's a bonfire right there. So there's also a shard up there, I think. So you can light your bonfire there, get some rest, fill your flask, and then come back down here. And there's a couple enemies. If you do rest at that bonfire, make sure that you are aware that the knight is going to be in there. So just come through this doorway and watch out for the two enemies. There's actually one at the bottom of the ladder. About half the time he climbs the ladder and you have to fight both guys at the same time. This time he didn't, so I'm not sure what triggers him climbing, but you can run past and make sure you get this guy who's standing up, unless you want to fight him after he transforms. If you get more souls, and I think he drops some pretty good loot if you let him transform. Still kind of a hard fight, so if you can avoid it, then I would. We're going to come down this ladder, and this is another spot where it forks and you have a choice. I'm going to show you. I'm not actually going to go this way, but I'm going to show you where a ladder is. So you got to watch out for these enemies. There's two with crossbows and then two that climb up here. They're pretty low level, so you don't have to worry about them being too hard to fight. But there's a ladder right here, and we're actually going to end up where the ladder takes us anyway, so we'll skip that for now. So we'll go through this doorway, hang a left, and there's some enemies in here. You could just avoid the crossbow, and then one will come up behind you. You can take him out, and then there's one in this doorway on the right. Take him out, and I think there's a shard in here, and then there's a guy behind all these breakables, and I think there's an item in the breakables too. I already picked it up, but watch out for the knight. This one's a little trickier to avoid because it's a little more close quarters, but you can take him out, then do it. If you can avoid him, try. There's another item in here. And once we get through this doorway, you're going to hang a right, because if you go straight and then you hang a left right here, there's some breakables. You're going to break them and drop down. I already have the item in here, but there's a chest down here that has a sword in it, and it's a pretty decent sword. I think you have to have a certain level in faith and stuff to get it, so, or to be able to use it. So we'll go back and I'll skip that because I already picked up the weapon. But watch out for the guy who's in this room, and I can't remember if there's anything in here, but I don't think so. So if there is, you're obviously going to see it. But we're going to come down here, hang a right again, and we're going to circle around a little bit. Right here, there's 2 enemies in this area, but what we're worried about is this chest. There's a shield in this chest, and it's a pretty good shield. So if you see across here, there is the spot that had the shield, or the sword, not the shield, the sword. So that's where you're going to end up if you drop down to get the sword. But anyway, we're going to come back, and this room is kind of tricky, but it's worth it to make sure you take care of everybody. So what I do here is separate out the guys. Try to fight them one by one, one at a time, because there's 3 of the enemies, the bigger enemies, and then there's 2 dogs. So you can get overwhelmed pretty easily, even at a higher level. If you get hit with one of their power attacks, it takes a good chunk of your health. So good strategy is to use the throwing knives, because they don't do a lot of damage anyway, but it's a good way to attract them so that you don't have to fight multiple guys at the same time. Make sure that you keep an eye on your stamina. Even though my guy's a little bit of a higher level, I put a lot of it into the HP and the stamina I'm working on right now. So their attacks are pretty good at draining your stamina if you're blocking with the shield. So, but one of the items we want is down here past this dog. Down here is the cell key. We want that cell key because we're going to go back and free somebody from the cell. And there's also an Estus shard on the left of where I'm running right now. So the Estus shard will reinforce your flask so you have more uses before you have to refill it. So we're going to drop down here and watch out for the guy behind you. Make sure you have a decent amount of health when you drop down too, because you will lose health. But we're going to avoid the fight with the big guy right now. He's a pretty decent fight depending on your level and how well you know his attacks. But take out the guys that are up on these stairs, because they're kind of annoying if you try to run past them. If you go through these stairs, there's a couple items. There's an item on that corpse there, and then if you run and jump there, there's a Ring of Sacrifice. Ring of Sacrifice is pretty good because it helps you not lose souls when you die, but it only has 1 use. So make sure you use it when you need it. This area is actually a trap, so once you make it to a certain point, 4 guys climb up, but they are pretty low level guys, so you don't have to worry too much about it. And then there's an item in the corner here that you can pick up. But what we really want is to come here, and we're gonna pull the lever. The elevator might already be where it needs to be, so you either have to pull the lever or you don't. But the lever is at the bottom and the top of the elevator, so once you get this unlocked, you can use it freely. And I'll show you where it takes you to. So this would be locked. You would unlock it and come up the stairs here. So you can take out the dogs if you want, or you can avoid them, or try to avoid them like I did, and run up the stairs here. And you can see that we are back at the original bonfire. So right there I'm showing you where the items would be up by the tower there. So you can either rest at the bonfire or you don't have to, depending on. I'm going to go ahead and rest so I can show you the way back to where we need to be. It's actually quicker to go the other way, the original way that we went, but I'm going to show you the way using the shortcut that we just opened so you can see what it's like going that way. So really you only have to take out the dogs here. You can avoid the fight with the guy up there by just running back to the elevator, but I just wanted to show you real quick that you go up these stairs and there's two enemies you have to worry about, one with a crossbow and one that transforms. You can take out the transform guy before he actually does it, just like the other one. So there's items up there that you want to grab, so I would recommend doing that, but we'll just skip that for now, and I'll show you the way back to where we need to use the cell key. So you're gonna end up running back through to the elevator. All you gotta do is step on the square in the center and drop down. And since I did rest at the bonfire, all the enemies are gonna be back. So you can run and avoid the trap. And once again, you're going to want to take these guys out because they can still be annoying. But especially if you get stuck by trying to fight the bigger guy here. If he's on the side that he's on in the video, you can just run past and run through and you don't have to worry about it. A couple guys are going to stand up right here though. One of them is going to climb over the ledge. And then we're going to climb up the ladder that I showed you earlier in the video. It's kind of tricky climbing up this way because there's guys right at the ladder and they're going to hit you immediately when you get up there. So if you come back the original way, then it's going to be the same as the first time we went through where they climb up the ledge. But you can do it this way, or you can even rest at the bonfire and travel to the other bonfire that we found at the top of the stairs after fighting the first knight. We just need to get back to that room, basically. But this is a good way for you to know exactly where the shortcut is, where the shortcut takes you, and all that good stuff. So take out the two guys in here. I think you can avoid this guy, but like I said, they like to throw knives, so I took them out, and it's gonna be helpful if you come down here. There's a bigger enemy, so if you end up attracting one of the guys from the upper floor, you'll have to deal with both of them at the same time. So you take that guy out and run through here, and you're going to want to watch out because the guy right here throws fire bombs, and he took himself out and did a decent amount of damage to me. And then take out this guy. But what we're down here for is right at the bottom of these stairs, and through the door there's a cell. You're going to unlock the cell, and then there's an NPC down here who's going to give you a quest. He's going to give you a ring, and you can actually wear the ring until you get to the point where you're going to finish the quest. But after you finish talking to him and getting all the stuff figured out that he wants you to do, we're gonna start running through and getting to the spot before the next boss fight. So we're gonna run back through, and avoid this guy. Try not to get stuck like I did, but we're going to avoid this guy, and we're actually going to go back to the area where the big guy was that we were avoiding. So at this point you can fight him if you want to. He is kind of a hard fight, so if you're struggling as it is, it's a pretty tall order in terms of being able to beat him. But if you can, he drops about 300 souls, I think, and he might drop some decent loot. He dropped a weapon whenever I beat him. So, but we're gonna come up to this area, and there's actually a few knights in this area. So same strategy as the room before. We're gonna try to separate them out with the throwing knives, and you don't want to try to fight both of the guys because they do have overlapping paths that they take. So you don't want to fight both of them at the same time, because even at a high level that can be kind of tricky, because between the timing and everything they might be able to get you into a loop of getting hit. You gotta watch out for their shield attacks too, because they take a good chunk of your stamina whenever you block it with a shield. But once you take care of those guys, you can run up these stairs, and this area is purely optional because this guy is a tough guy to beat. He looks like a regular knight, but he's not. So you can sneak up behind him and try to get a backstab in on him, do a decent amount of damage, and hit him while he's getting up. He can still block you, but you can see that his eyes are going red. So basically his attacks are more powerful, his health is higher, so he's a tougher guy to beat. But if you can beat him, he drops some good loot the first time you beat him, and he actually drops pretty good loot. Like he'll drop some embers and some Lothric knight weapons and stuff like that. So pretty good guy to beat if you can. We're gonna head into here and talk to this woman. She'll end up giving you a couple things. Make sure you talk to her twice, because she gives you 2 things. I already got them, so she didn't say anything. You can actually hit this character and kill her and trigger a boss fight. Depending on your level, I would not recommend it. It's not an easy fight, but like if you come up these stairs, there's another knight. This should be the last knight in the area. So in total, there's 4 knights, including the one that has the higher HP and everything. But this is really the last area before the boss fight. There's 3 more enemies, I believe, but they're just regular enemies. One has a crossbow, and 2 of them have shields and swords. But down here, through this gate that's open, is going to be the boss fight, and it's triggered once you hit the back end of where that gate leads to. So I'll show you where these last enemies are, and then I'll edit to whenever I beat the boss, because I didn't beat him in this run. I actually beat him before this. But take out these guys on the stairs. You saw where the crossbow guy was, and then I'll show you how I beat the boss. So as you can tell, I died trying to beat him before, at least once. I won't tell you how many times. But this is Vordt. He's a pretty tough boss if you don't really know how to approach him. Basically, he's got 2 stages. This first one, he really just tries to hammer down on you, and he does cause frostbite, so you can get frostbitten. But the trick is to kind of try to stay close to him, try to dodge his attacks. Make sure you watch your stamina though. That was an issue I kept running into. Even whenever I beat him, I kind of ran into that. So try to stay close to him. You don't necessarily have to get behind him, but standing in front of him is probably not the best approach. This is the second stage. He'll let out a yell and start charging at you. and the charge does a decent amount of damage, and then he'll have this attack, which I recommend not standing right in front of him or you'll get frostbitten like I did. But as long as you stay close and you avoid his charges, and whenever he blows his frost at you, then you should be okay. You can see, there we go, I took him out. You get the soul, and you can sell it. I don't necessarily recommend selling anything right whenever you get it, because you don't know when you're going to need it. And then light the bonfire here, and then basically you're going to go through the door that just opened, and there will be a little cutscene for you, and it'll take you to the next area. So that's how you beat the boss, and that's how you get to it. And make sure that you get that quest for the ring, because the ring's pretty helpful. Plus you get him as a vendor down at Firelink Shrine. So thanks guys, stay nerdy.